Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Justin Moore, founder of Creator Wizard, teaching you how to find and negotiate your dream sponsorship so that you stop leaving thousands on the table. We do this every single Friday, so stoked to have you here today. We're going to be talking about something fun, which is why creators struggle asking for more money. I think I talked about the fact that fear is a complicated emotion to overcome for creators. You have fear of judgment from your audience. You have fear of rejection from brands. But I really believe that learning how to harness and control your fears is really the key to unlocking your true potential. So I want to talk about that today. Let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat. We've got Brianna. We got Brianne. Brianne, what's going on? Brianne Fleming what's going on? We got Alex in the TikTok chat. Let me pull up the Instagram chat to see who's in there. I wanted to pull this up here. We've got Mary hiking the Pacific Northwest, discovery of design, and more tuning in. So thank you. So the first thing I wanted to talk about related to this subject is, so before I dive into this, drop in the chat what you are most fearful of. Because I wanted to share initially right off the top some of mine. I think being vulnerable will get the juices flowing with this. And really my fear is that I won't have the gigantic impact that I want to have. I have this very ambitious goal to help creators large and small land 1 million sponsorships by 2032. I've talked about that before. And so my fear is that I won't reach that, right? This is something core to my personality, core to my fulfillment, core to what gets me up every day. And so the prospect or the thought of that not happening is scary to me. I have other fears. My fear is that I will reach a plateau, right? Yeah. Like with my courses and my content and things like that. Yeah. I'm on an upward trajectory right now, which feels really exciting, with my course enrollments and all that stuff. But what if I reach a critical mass and then it starts to decline? Or, what if someone takes one of my courses and doesn't experience the level of transformation that they were hoping for and makes a video talking about how much they think I suck? Or, maybe, I have fear that maybe if I reach out to one of my dream brands and they don't respond, or worse, they say no, that the dream is all of a sudden extinguished. This dream that I've built up in my head of how I'm going to one day work with this like dream brand, I've got some, right? That's going to be crushed. Now, again, these are all things that could happen. Is it likely that they all happen? No, of course not. However, some of them probably will happen. But the point is that that's life. If there wasn't adversity, it wouldn't be interesting. And, I really look at all the failures that I've had throughout my life as stepping stones along the journey that has led me to where I am today. We've got Marcus tuning in from the chat. Thank you so much. Tuning in from Delray Beaches, Brian. We've got Saba's Corner, Counseling with Mr. B, Ria, Natalie, Ale, tuning in from IG, and the Bannon on TikTok. So I see some of your fears. I'm gonna call some of those out. The second fear that often comes up is from uncertainty with how the process works. So, for example, when a brand responds to us in a way that we didn't expect, or they say something that we don't understand, our first instinct is that the brand has nefarious intentions, right? But how do you know whether this is just a part of the process? That was why my last video was about the 8 steps of how brand deals actually work. Because once you realize everything that goes into it, you'll feel so much more comfortable and so much more confident to ask for what you're worth, right? And another mindset shift that I want to talk about, which is really critical, and it's when it comes to overcoming the fear of how to ask for more money, I think a lot of creators believe that brands are their enemy, as well as other creators. But after doing this over a decade, one thing that I firmly believe now is that it's actually our minds that are our enemy. The best news about that, actually, though, is that we have the power to change our mindset. I mean, I would imagine that is one of the reasons that you follow me. Because if we fear brands or other creators and think that they're out to get us, or that someone else getting a deal is somehow bad for us, that is relinquishing control to the situation. You are a victim at that point, and there's nothing that you can do to change your position. However, when you shift your thinking from this thing is happening to me to this is how I'm choosing to feel about this thing happening to me, you'll realize that you're actually fully in control. So I wanted to kick it off with that today because I think that, like, after doing my courses and after doing so much one-on-one consulting with creators, it's been so eye-opening to me to see how much fear prevents us from asking for more money in lots of aspects of our life, not just working with brands, right? I wanted to call out some fears that some folks were outlining in the chat because I appreciate all you guys being vulnerable. And Brian says, I'm most fearful of not knowing when I'm getting paid next. Yeah, that is a huge one. Brianna says, I fear not living up to my potential as an artist. Brianna and Brian, chat a little bit more about the emotions behind that. Like, especially Brianna, like, what do you believe is your potential? Like, what is preventing you from not achieving, or becoming the artist that you want to be? I'm really curious to hear that. We got Oliver from Road to Finish tuning in. Hannity says, so true, Justin. Yeah, exactly. Counseling with Mr. B, claps, tailor made. Counseling with Mr. B says, not knowing where to start. I'm new to everything. Yeah, I mean, that's a really big fear. One thing I have also found is that just even making the first post, like, for those of you who have, are a little bit further along on your creator journey, think back to that first post that you made. All the fear associated with that. Fear that everyone was going to think you suck, or fear that you were going to get made fun of by your family and friends, or fear that no one would watch, or know that no one would engage, or no one would like. Like, I remember that fear in the beginning. I think like when we were first starting out, we were like too dumb to know like any better, that we were just like, oh, let's do this thing. It seems fun, but like, especially as, you know, like being a creator as a job is like much more of a thing now. There's so much more pressure that I think people assign to themselves to kill it right out the gates. If I let that, like, when I first started making content for Creator Wizard, 2 years ago, remind me, just as a reminder, like, my wife and I, we've been making content for over 10 years. We've got over 1 million followers across all of our other platforms. But when I started making content for Creator Wizard, and even now, I'm getting hundreds of views per video. I'm not getting thousands or tens of thousands. I'm getting hundreds, 300 to 500 views per video, sometimes less. And if I let the ego get to me of like, oh, well, in the past, I used to get like this amount of views. And so, like, man, I'm suck because like my videos now are like not doing well. But if I let that fear and that like uncertainty of like why I think I suck get to me, I would not have had all of the success that I've had over the last 2 years. I've said this before on social media, like, like, yeah, I got 7,000 views in the last 30 days on my YouTube channel, but I also made over $50,000 from my courses and consulting. right? So it's like it's very easy to let these kind of fears that we have of how we look and our perception of how people are thinking about us prevent us from serving others. Because at the end of the day, like I feel like relatively fortunate that we had this kind of foundational level of experience, um, you know, being on social media and getting a lot of hate, lots of trolls throughout the years. Like we've been through it, so I get it, and I get how difficult that can be. But if I let that fear get into my mindset, like I would not be able to help all these other amazing creators experience these incredible transformations in their lives, because that at the end of the day, I view that as the next chapter of my life, is serving others, not like we've already experienced the success. I want others to be able to experience what we have. Like I have this abundance mindset about like there's so much money, there's so much opportunity for everyone in this space. It's not about scarcity. It's not about, oh, if this person gets a deal that's bad for me. No, it's going to be you next week. And so if I looked at that and I'm only getting a couple hundred views per video, that's 300 creators whose lives I potentially impacted. When I made a video about, licensing your content or whitelisting or whatever, and I helped that person make 2,000 extra dollars on a deal, that's life-changing money to a lot of people. I really look at that as like making a difference. Yeah, I'm making a difference in my little corner of the world, but it's it's a difference to me and it matters to me. Brian says, coming from a corporate world with a steady paycheck, I feel like a failure if I don't monetize consistently. Yeah, that is like such a difficult mindset to get out of, because when you're in a corporate 9 to 5, like I was in medical devices before, right? So I get it, right? Like it's scary going out of your own and like doing the whole freelance thing and not having predictability in your income. In fact, that's one of the major things that I talk about in my courses, is this idea of a pipeline. As a creator, you are a small business. It's not enough to just kind of sit back and be like, oh, well, okay, I don't know when my next paycheck is going to be, or I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent or my mortgage or my car bill or whatever. Like that's scary. And so it takes a special person to be able to lean into that uncertainty. I've always said that, like, when I quit my 9 to 5 job, my medical device job, I guess almost 8 years ago now, people thought I was absolutely nuts. Like, this was not a thing that people did. Like, what, you're quitting your job to like be a YouTuber? Like, are you insane? And I had a 6-week-old son when I put my notice in. Like, of course, my wife and I had been planning for this for many years, that this was like eventually going to be something that we did together full time, and it took a long time to get there and build it up to that. But my response to that, honestly, when people would say that to me, I was like, look, like my employer can fire me at any time. There's an economic downturn, all those late nights, all that, work that you put in to please, your superiors and all that stuff does not matter. They will fire you in an instant. But when you're a creator and you're in control of your own destiny, the likelihood of your income going to zero is very low. Like if you look at YouTube, in particular, and like, yeah, maybe if you get demonetized, but I'm saying like the likelihood of your views going to zero, or the amount of money you're making on AdSense going to zero, or your affiliate income going to zero, or your brand sponsorships going to zero, is all very unlikely. It's much more likely that it will be more of a gradual decline, where you can start to identify like, oh, okay, like our income from this particular source is going down. Time to diversify and look at other opportunities. Like, heck, I've talked about this before many times. A very perfect example is how deep my wife and I have gone into live commerce on Amazon Live in particular. We were not on Amazon Live. Like we've been monetizing with Amazon Associates, and that's one of the first ways that we made money on the internet, but that was affiliate links, in our description boxes of our YouTube videos 10 years ago or whatever. But having a show basically, or a new content format where the whole point of it is to like talk about products, and by the way, be able to offer that as an upsell to existing sponsors. That was not a revenue stream that we had 18 months ago. And in the last 30 days, we've made $30,000 on Amazon Live sponsorships. More than that, actually. So even though our YouTube AdSense is going down and we basically, we make some money on it, but it's not like we had some months where we're making like $25,000 on AdSense on YouTube, like at the height of like our viewership and and so we make a small fraction of that now. But it's like we've got these other income streams that we've built up because we had the vision. We were like, look, this could be something in 2 years. Let's really invest in this now, so that when everyone else, when all the advertisers catch up and realize the potential of this, we will be very well positioned. We will have honed our craft. We'll have amazing production quality. We'll have ironed out all the kinks about what it takes to be fluid and dynamic and interact with a live audience while still talking about the products, making incredible production value. For every single live stream that we do, April pre-films footage of the item, like B-roll for every single we're talking about 30, 40 products per stream. That's a lot of work, but we invested it. We saw the potential. We invested in it. We saw the potential. And now 2 years later, we're reaping the rewards. So yeah, I mean, Taylor made in the chat said exactly, there's no ceiling as a creator. And Taylor Made said, yeah, I def remember that fear when I first got into this industry some years back, even though my background is on the corporate side of brand deals. Exactly. Mostly Money TV. Love this channel. Preach, brother. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate that. And Bernard said, glad to be on live. First time watching you live. I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in here. One of the things I love about this live stream is, or like being live in general, or just like consistently showing up, is there's always people who are tuning in that have never heard from you before. This is a new opportunity for me every single week to change someone's life and impact someone in some way. So you may think that you're a broken record. You're saying the same things over and over and over, but I get excited about meeting new people and the potential to change someone's life. Maybelline says, "Oh, I gotta leave soon, but please go live more. I love this content, and you guys, thank you so much. I appreciate that." And Financially Free Journey said that it's interesting that a 9 to 5 is viewed as stability. Your company will have your job posting up before you even have your desk cleaned out. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Marcus says, there's always massive value in Justin streams. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, and Brianna says, I guess I'm afraid that I won't be accepted by my peers and or rejected by brands and just languish into obscurity. And Oliver in the chat had something interesting that said, why do you think you feel this way? Would you feel this way if you started a traditional business? And if your answer is no, what makes influencer marketing different? I know the feeling. It seems like we might have a similar background. This will take some time, but over time, you will learn to appreciate the investment that you're making in the long term, even if you don't monetize right away. And consistency that comes later. And yeah, Brian says, thanks for the encouraging words. Yeah, Mostly Money TV said, people thought I was crazy also. I quit a 65K job, moved to another country with a new channel. Today, 120K yearly and 5 channels. Look at what can happen when you believe in yourself and bank on yourself. Like leaning into the discomfort and uncertainty of knowing whether something would work. Like, look, when I first had the idea to start the course, like when I was making content on this channel, talking about brand deals and negotiations and contracts and stuff like that, initially in the beginning, I wasn't thinking like I'm going to make courses and like monetize this and this really sophisticated way. Like, yeah, I had some inkling in the back of my mind, like, yeah, maybe this is something that I could, monetize down the line, but it was not something that was like at the forefront of my mind at the outset. And so when I started getting DMs from people and emails asking, can you coach me? Like, is this, how can I hire you? All this stuff. I was like, okay, like maybe there's something here. And so I started to think, let me do some one-on-one coaching first. Let me prove out the methodology. And then when I felt, relatively certain that I could experience a scalable, I could create a scalable model to help others experience that transformation. That's when I was like, okay, let me go and make this course. I think I can do this. But even then, I spent so much time creating the collateral. Luckily I didn't film any videos or anything like that. Like, I didn't spend like 40 hours like filming and editing all these videos, like kind of as an on-demand thing. And that was purposeful because I wanted to launch the course as in a cohort model so that I could consistently improve it each cohort. But my first beta of the course had 3 paying creators. I was charging $1,500 at that point, but I easily could have looked at the last 3 months that I had invested in designing a really compelling course offering and only, quote unquote, making $4,500. And I could have looked at that as a failure and given up. I could have given up right then. Oh, 3 creators. That's so embarrassing. That sucks. But no, I was like, no, there's something here. And those 3 creators that actually went through it had some amazing transformations. So I got those first early testimonials. I used that as traction. And then I did the next one. That one had 5 people. And then the next one had 7. And then the fourth cohort had 16 creators. And the last cohort had 42 creators paying $1,000. And then within that cohort, I had some of those creators pay me for additional one-on-one consulting. What would have happened had I given up after that first cohort? None of this growth would have happened. Someone on Twitter recently mentioned an analogy that I really liked, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but that being a creator and monetizing and seeing success oftentimes feels like building a giant snowball, one snowflake at a time. So in the beginning, it feels like no progress is being made. A lot of the snowflakes are melting. And you want to give up because if you looked at it one day at a time, you wouldn't be able to really see much progress. And then all of a sudden, one day you realize like, wow, this thing actually is starting to take shape. And then once it has a shape, you can start rolling it in other snow. Then you can roll it over to a hill and just push the snowball down the hill. I had a situation or an opportunity that I had reached out to another brand to tap into their audience because they had a lot of creators in their audience. And I basically offered to pay them per lead. So I said, hey, if you promo my newsletter to your audience, I'll pay you a certain amount of money per sign up, basically. And they were like, hey, sounds great. Like we love your newsletter. Like we'd love to expose our audience to your newsletter. In one fell swoop, I got 500 creators onto my newsletter. At the time, I had like 1,500 on there. So like a third of my creators at that time came from this one opportunity. I shot my shot. Like all it takes is like one inflection point for everything to change for you. Brian says it's a long game, right? That's exactly right. Renee says, you wouldn't have given up. This is your destiny. I hope you design more courses for us. I'm ready. I appreciate that so much. Some way or another, the stars would have aligned to bring you right to where you are now. Yeah. Yeah. And DMAX says, isn't it similar to many other businesses though? Yeah, that's exactly right. I feel like there's this disconnect where if someone launches a small, brick and mortar, ice cream shop or, local boutique, oh, go for it. You're living your dream. We want to cheer them on, small business week. Like, is it, there's all this fanfare and people seem to admire that you're going for your dreams, but somehow Creating content on the internet, trying to make money on the internet on the internet is denigrated. Why is that? I'll tell you why. It's because most people do not have the confidence to put themselves out there. Not only do most people not have the confidence to put themselves out there, most even a smaller subset of those people have the confidence to ask people to pay them for it. Oh my gosh. The gall to like I could just go out there and watch a bunch of free YouTube videos for this advice, and you're asking me to like take your course? You're asking me to pay you for one-on-one time? How dare you? Once you can get past that, you have unlimited potential. I actually firmly believe, let me take a swig here real quick. Yeah, Mostly Money TV says that's so true. It only takes one shot. When it happens, boom. Let me know in the chat. Was there one inflection point for any of you in the chat that like, wow, like this one thing happened and everything changed for you? I'm really curious. I love talking about those moments. The other like kind of fascinating thing that I'll talk about is that for my wife and I, for my wife and me, is that the right English? Um, I don't really think there ever really was a true inflection point for us. There was never like, oh, a viral video that like changed everything for us or like anything like that. It was like we look at the last 10 years as like a absolutely slow burn. We never went from like, oh, 5,000 views a video to like 100,000. It never happened. It was always just like gradually growing over time. Right. And so by the same token, you don't have to have an inflection point to experience success in your career as a creator. I'm living proof of that. Yeah, I've had a few, kind of minor inflection points for my creator wizard side of the business, but for our other stuff where we've made millions of dollars as creators over the years, we never really experienced that. It was just like consistently showing up, daily vlogging for 3 years without missing an upload. 15, 20-minute video every single day for over 3 years, over 1,000 uploads. When you have enough at bats and you do something over and over and over, just like me consistently showing up on this live stream over and over and over and over, like good things happen, like truly. Oliver in the chat said, it's really funny to think about not being accepted by my peers in the corporate world, considering that I'm nowadays consulting those same people in video marketing. Just today, had an hour-long consultancy with one of the biggest management consulting companies in Finland. So please keep in mind that learning the skills required for YouTube and influencer marketing can also be used in the corporate world. Dropping some gems here, Oliver. So proud of you. Bernard said, I'm getting some great ideas from you. I've been coaching creatives for 7 years, and I feel like if I don't scale this year, I need to move on to something else. Talk a little bit more about that, Bernard, because I'm curious, why are you feeling this itch to scale? Is it a personal goal of has it been like a personal goal of yours that like, oh, I just like want to have a larger impact, or you just don't feel like you're making the income that you have wanted to? I'm curious if this is like a self-imposed thing for you. I'd be really curious to talk about that, because I feel like we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to experience just like, growth month over month, year over year ad infinitum. But where does that come from? For me, like, I actually am going the opposite direction, if you can believe it. Like, I have chosen to increase the investment to my course to $2,000 next cohort. And I am well aware that that is going to decrease the enrollments in all likelihood. So instead of, going to 100 creators next cohort, maybe I'm going to half it and I'm going to go to 25 or something. Or I don't know, maybe I will still get 42. I don't know. It's an experiment, as with all this stuff is, but I'm excited about the potential to have a smaller, more engaged cohort where I can give more attention to each creator that enrolls. And so you could look at that as though my impact is decreasing, but when I look at my goal right here, remember this little countdown or the count up? I don't know, I guess count up, or my ticker, my running total of the 1 million sponsorships that I want to help people reach by 2032. It's not about I'm helping 1 million creators. That's a very important distinction that I made with my goal, is that if I had the goal of like, oh, I want to help 1 million creators get their first sponsorship or something, if that was the goal, then everything about my business would be different. I would be creating a course that would be $50 or something, or a much lower investment level, because it was about scale at that point. It was about reaching the most amount of creators, but that's not the goal. The goal is 1 million sponsorships. So if I could help one creator get 100 sponsorships, like that's much more impactful for me and exciting to me than helping 100 creators get one. So I have to design my business and my content and my courses and everything around this mission. That's why I'm such a big fan of creating a mission for yourself, because it will inform all of your decisions. It'll inform the content strategy. It'll inform how you monetize. It'll inform everything. Skincare Nerd in the TikTok chat said, your tips have helped me so much. I used to have no idea what a lot of these terms were. Growth isn't as important as sustaining what you already have. That's exactly right. And Bernard said, it's coming from me, this self-imposed pressure, I'm assuming. I love coaching, but I'm not making the money I should be making, and I've gotten tired. Well, Bernard, I mean, I think that this exercise of, figuring out what your North Star is so critical. Because when you realize what truly excites you, it can't just be about money. I'm a firm believer that, your North Star can't be about, oh, I just want to make the most amount of money, or, oh, I want to make $500,000 this year. Or like, that can't be the mission. Because believe me, when you hit that, you will not feel fulfilled. I guarantee it. Because let me tell you, I'm very transparent about this. My wife and I made over $700,000 last year. And our marginal increase in happiness is literally the same as when we made 200,000. We can go out to eat whenever we want. We can go on the vacations that we want, right? Like, our lifestyle has not changed at all. So it can't be about the money. Yeah, like, when you get to a baseline level, I get it. Like, when, maybe when, you will be a lot happier when you can like do this full time or get to 75K in creator income or whatever. Like, I get that. Once you get to that, like, things will change for sure. But above that, there has to be something else. There has to be a larger purpose. It's just like, Olympic athletes who train their entire lives, they get the gold medal or they medal. And then it's like, what now? What is that mission for you? And so, Bernard, I would challenge you to figure out what that is for you, and that will invigorate you for the next chapter. DB San 4D in the chat said, what other chat are you speaking to? Amazon? No, man, I am multi-streaming on I don't even know how many platforms right now. My private Facebook group, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Like, how many is that? So yeah, I'm multi-streaming to a bunch of different platforms right now. That's why I'm like looking at a bunch of different chats right now. At Home with Savvy. We got At Home with Savvy. We got Fernanda in the chat. What's up, Fernanda? Oh, and DMAC in the chat here has something interesting, Bernard, to say to you. Maybe Bernard needs to take a page out of your book and change his pricing. So one comment I want to make about this is that Your pricing says a lot about the types of clients that you want to serve. So, for example, or kind of the impact, or it says a lot about the value that you can provide to potential clients. So, um, I'm a perfect example of this because I recently uh, basically decided to start charging $1,000 an hour for my sponsorship coaching. 1 hour. It's $1,000 an hour. So, what does that signal to someone when you tell them that? It signals if everyone else is charging $50 an hour or $100 an hour or $250 an hour, whatever, and you're charging $1,000 an hour, people are going to be like, okay, like, first of all, what? Second of all, wow, this person must be in a totally different league. And that instantly differentiates you from everyone else out there. And so as a result, the types of people who have been investing in my one-on-one coaching are a different type of creator. This is someone who is serious about it. This is someone who's just not making content as a hobby. This is someone who wants to make a significant income. And they are investing in that. And you better believe me, my one-on-one sessions are like packed with value. Like I did 2 consulting calls yesterday with 2 different creators, and one Brittany, one of the people who one of the creators who hired me, told me right when we started the call, she said to me, "I just wanted to give you this feedback that when you first told me that your course was $1,000, I was like." This is her. You know that emoji where it's like the grimace emoji? It's like, like that was the face she made. It was like that was how I felt when you first told me that. And then after having gone through it all, hiring you for $1,000 for a 1-hour session was an absolute no-brainer to me because my mindset around money has changed so much. So I just wanted to like mention that, Bernard, because I know you mentioned here it's not just about the money. I hope I didn't give the wrong impression. No, I totally get that, and I a lot of time, it comes about these things all are kind of all wrapped up in the same thing. It's like, I'm not making the money I wanted to, but I'm not having the impact that I wanted to. I'm not working with the right clients, or I'm not having the amount of clients that I wanted to, or I'm not helping people experience the transformations that I want them to experience. So there's all of this stuff sometimes I feel like is wrapped up together. So Bernard, what I would really recommend is like doing a mind map or kind of like a pros and cons list of like trying to identify what is the void, or what is the gap that you're feeling that you're not getting the fulfillment out of it that you want to get out of it. Because oftentimes we as creators, we have all these things in our heads that make it difficult for us to really pinpoint why we're feeling uneasy or uncomfortable or unsatisfied with a particular thing that we're doing. And I really feel like putting pen to paper sometimes and trying to articulate it and really meditate around what are all the different complicated emotions behind this thing, that can really give a lot of clarity and help reveal the path forward. Skincare nerd, I use Restream to multi-stream on all a bunch of different platforms. I'm a big fan of Restream. In the past, I've been a Restream partner. I am an affiliate for them. So if you want to check it out, you can try it out for free in like any of my description boxes on YouTube or bio and things like that. And yeah, I'm a big fan of it. You can multi-stream too. I love the multi-streaming aspect. I think it's so cool to be able to reach audiences in different places. So, Timothy said that charging that $1,000 instills confidence in the product that you produce. I'm on the new side of things. Currently, I don't have cash for that, but following some of your free advice would get me there. Joshua, I really appreciate that. And the other like really important point here is that charging $1,000, I would not be able to charge $1,000 an hour if I didn't know with like 100% certainty that I can get you results. Like saying that to people, I can say that with like my chest puffed out with all of the confidence in the world, because it's like, I know it's worth it. I know 100% that if you pay me $1,000, I'm easily going to give you advice that you can go out and make $10,000. Like no questions asked. Like, and I have no like qualms saying that. And the interesting thing is that when I've had creators DM me asking for one-on-one coaching, and I tell them that, like, if I was fearful of, like, oh, if I didn't think like, oh, like, somehow I'm like, you know, pull, uh, like if I didn't have the confidence that I could deliver results, it would be very difficult for me to be like, oh yeah, it's $1,000 an hour, but I understand, it's not, not everyone can afford it. And so here's these other products if you can't afford that, and I was very kind of like wishy-washy about it all. Like, does that feel like a confident pitch? No, it's like, sure, like, so super excited you'd be interested in like doing one-on-one coaching. It's $1,000 an hour. Let me know if that sounds good and we can get something on the books. And that's it. You don't say anything. You shut up. You lean into the silence, which is so difficult. But you don't have to justify it. And that's a really, really critical point to get to in anything you're doing, whether it's the content that you're creating, the free content you're creating, the monetized products that you're creating, merchandise, leaning into the fact that you stand 100% behind what you're selling. And by the way, this is a piece of advice that transcends being a creator. If you have ever worked in sales or you understand that realm, it's very difficult to sell a product that you don't believe in. To do the whole dog and pony show and try to convince a client or something. I used to be in medical devices. Like there were salespeople, that just did not believe in the product. It was a great product, but like maybe they came from a competitor or they had, their own baggage from their career. And it was just they flamed out after a couple months, 6 months, because they just didn't believe in the product and they couldn't sell it. They couldn't make the pitch to the client. And the same advice for creators holds true here, is that if you are going out and trying to pitch brands and you don't really, and you feel like, oh, my views are low or my numbers suck or my engagement's crappy, I don't have a good reach on Instagram, I have 10,000 followers, but I'm only getting 100 views on TikTok, whatever. If that's the vibe that you're projecting in your proposals and in your pitches, you think the brand wants to work with you? Probably not. By the way, speaking of self-improvement and working on things, maybe, I'm not sure if this is something that you have noticed, but I have been trying to work on my delivery, the way in which I talk, because I've always hated the fact that I say and like a lot. Whenever I listen to myself on live streams or in videos and things like that, it is one of the biggest and most annoying things about me. And I'm always trying to like improve myself. And so I have been, I have like a mentor. I'm in a mastermind with a guy named Robbie Crabtree, and he teaches a course called performative speaking. And he was an ex-trial lawyer, and talks all about how to speak with confidence. I haven't taken the course, but like he's in my mastermind. So he runs the mastermind, part of the mastermind. And so I've been learning so much from him, just following his content and things like that. If you're not following him on IG and LinkedIn and so on, he's great. But one of the key pieces of advice about becoming a better speaker is slowing down. So rather than saying and likes to fill silence, which is what I often do when I'm trying to like figure out what my next train of thought is, I slow down and I lean into the silence. So I'm going to go back and listen to this live stream afterwards and see how I did. But I basically asked him one day, like, how do I get better at this? How do I get better at not saying or saying like? How do I get better at that? And his answer was watch game tape. And it's like a sports saying where it's like you go back and you watch replays and highlights of the game that you just played so that you can improve your performance for next time. And I think not enough creators do this. They just create a piece of content and then they move on and they don't reflect at all. And so here I am 10 years later, being a creator, trying to improve this thing about myself that's always bothered me. So anyways, I just wanted to show you a little inside baseball, little behind the scenes here of like the things that I'm trying to improve about myself. D says, Justin, I've noticed a difference. Thank you, D. DBSan4D in the TikTok chat said, you're doing a great job on delivery. I love your videos for creators. I appreciate that, man. That means a lot to me, really. DMAC said, $1,000 an hour? Yikes. He must be good. I need to be able to afford him. Oh, that's the other thing. I totally forgot. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's the other amazing thing that happens when you like lean into it with all your confidence when, you know, you're selling something. Instead of thinking that people are going to be like, how dare you? That's highway robbery. In your head, you're thinking that that's what people are going to say to you. But the vast majority of the time when I tell people that, they say, "Oh my goodness, you know, I'm not in a position to be able to invest in that right now, but I'm going to start saving up." And if you don't believe in what you're selling or what you're offering, some people could be like, "Oh, I'm like taking advantage of people like if they're having to save up the money and I'm like, you know, they're not in a position, like maybe they're not making a lot of money and like me, you know, charging that is like taking advantage of them." No, like I truly believe that I will help that person go to a totally new level. So that investment that they're making in me, they are going to get a 10x ROI. And that goes for my consulting and that goes for my courses or anything that I'm charging money for. And so the reason I'm going on this whole like rant, this side rant, is because I need you to hear this. Extrapolate this for your own creator business. When you're going out there and pitching brands, or you're going out there and trying to sell something directly to your followers, you need to feel confident that what you're selling is going to change their lives in some way. Because guess what happens then? It's a virtuous cycle. The more you help people, the more they get amazing outcomes from investing in you, the more they'll tell other people. And the more they tell other people, the more transformations you experience, and it just snowballs. And I truly believe that's where I am right now. I'm in this. This is a very weird thing to say, but when I look at the next 10 years of my life, when I'm trying to like get to that 1 million sponsorships goal, in my head, I know it's going to happen. You could say that's cocky. You could say that's narcissistic. But that's how vividly I can see myself accomplishing the goal. And so everything that I'm doing right now, it's like slow motion for me. It's like the problem is not how to get there, or the problem, let me rephrase that. The problem is not knowing whether I'll even accomplish it. The thing that excites me on a day-to-day basis is how do I fit the puzzle pieces together to make it actually happen? What do you think of that? Brian says, are you currently booking one-on-ones and where do I inquire? Yes, I am, Brian. Just DM me on any of my platforms. I can send you the link. Actually, I'll put it in the YouTube chat. How about that? One-on-one. It's actually very easy. It's actually, well, let me just put it in the chat. It's one-on-one, one-on-one.com/creatorwizard. I am, for those of you who are like tuning in on TikTok or IG chat, if you're interested in like booking a one-on-one with me, just DM me on any platform and I'll send you the link. I don't have a ton of spots open, so if there's times that if the times that are there aren't like working, just DM me and we can find a time to get it on the calendar. Rafi Knows Pod says, doing great with the pauses. Thank you. DMAX says, I've noticed a difference in your speaking, or shall I say, your presence in watching your vlogs for the last 5 years. Wow. I really appreciate that. As someone who has like watched the vlogs for 5 years and you've noticed a difference in my speaking, that really means a lot. I appreciate that. By the way, getting better at speaking or getting better at anything, the best way to do it, in addition to watching game tape, is to do the thing. You can't get better at the thing unless you do the thing. So I don't even know how many live streams I've done now. I was not someone that live streamed before this, y'all. Yeah, we've done a few live streams on YouTube, or I've done some, live streams with April on her Instagram and stuff, but I'm not someone who is like ever live streamed really. And yet I leaned into it. I love the engagement of being able to interact with you in real time. And so I got better at it. Joshua Timpathy said, I'm motivated to send out my first pitches for sponsorships. Boom. I know number of followers doesn't matter, but consistency does. I took 5 months off because of having twins. Can I jump right in with it with a pitch? Marcus says, reply to Timothy saying, if you have affiliate marketing data to share with them, that's a great conversation starter, showing actual results. The other thing, it's a great point, Marcus. And one other thing I'll say, Joshua, I have a video on my YouTube channel called How to Get Sponsorships with 0 Subscribers. And I was being a little facetious and kind of hyperbolic, but the one area that I think the vast majority of creators do not leverage is being a content creator for hire, like a hired gun, basically, for local brands and businesses. So the pitch that you make to them is not, hi, I'm Joshua. I've got this many subscribers on my YouTube channel, this many views. No, it's like, hey, I noticed that you don't have a real robust Instagram presence or TikTok presence, or your website sucks. You don't have like great images and videos on there to give people an understanding of like what your business is all about. Here's my profile, or here's a video that I've done to give you an understanding of my expertise. That's the pitch. The pitch is not, hey, I'll get you 500 views on a YouTube video. It's a completely different pitch. Like if you are a creator listening right now and you want to make some money in the next 3 months, I guarantee you, if you go out there and start pitching local brands and businesses in your local community to help them create content on a freelance basis, you can make thousands of dollars. Thousands. Yes, you're going to get some brands that look at you with like glazed over. They're like, what the heck are you talking about? But then there's going to be some others who do not have a full-time marketing person. Yeah, maybe the goal of you working with them is going to be a little bit different. You're not now going to be just like publishing a YouTube video and it going out to people wherever they live. You're going to be trying to tailor the content to serve a local community. But what a fun challenge. So yeah, to answer your question, Joshua, you don't like the fact that you had a gap in your content creation. By the way, congratulations on the twins. I'm assuming that you're exhausted. Because I was exhausted with just one. I have 2 now, but one at a time. So just a thought there. Rafi knows pods. I could use this pitch for podcasting services. You know what? What do you think is a more exciting pitch to a brand who's interested in podcasts and things like this, Rafi? Do you think that the interesting thing is, oh, like I could talk about your brand on my podcast? I'll plug them. I get, 1,000 downloads an episode, 500 downloads an episode, whatever. I don't know how many views you get on your podcast or whatever. Or I am going to design for you a talk show or a podcast where I interview creators all about, or I interview local lawn care professionals all about home maintenance. It's a good, not a great example, but like I did a consulting session with a creator yesterday who was in a negotiation with a technology company. And we came up with the idea of like, why not create a talk show format, podcast format that lives on the brand's YouTube channel where he interviews creators about how technology helps us live a richer life. The brand wasn't asking for that, but like, how compelling of a proposal would that be? Like, that just explodes the mind of the brand of being like, wow, like, that's a unique idea. And one that probably completely differentiates you from any other creator they've ever talked to. Right? Yeah, Rafi says both, but number 2 has more possibilities. Yeah, it's exactly right. My favorite piece of advice about pitching is always do not just respond to what the brand is asking you. If they say, "Oh, how much for one Instagram post and one, set of stories or something or one integrated YouTube video?" You can be like, "Yeah, I can do that." But what about this podcast idea? Or what if I create 10 to 15 to 20 photos and videos for you every single month on Instagram because I noticed that you're only posting there once every 2 or 3 weeks. That's not enough. Or I noticed you don't have a TikTok presence. Let me be that person for you. You are not limited by what the brand is asking you for. Because not only do you stretch their imagination of what's possible, but you're no longer a commodity. You are someone that seems actually interested in helping their brand succeed. What a difference, right? What a difference. Oh my gosh, guys, we're almost at time. How did that happen? One thing I've noticed about slowing my speed down is that I feel like I'm drunk or something. Like, oh, be very think about that. Lean into the size. So funny. It's like one of the live stream is having issues right now, or the connection. Oh, okay, we're back. Awesome. Brian says, okay, who's sending out pitches after this? Yes, if the goal, if after this live stream, all you want to do is go out and like send pitches, that is, I will have accomplished everything in my life. That will have been everything. Like that will have been the ultimate. That will have been so fulfilling to me. Rafi says, "Thank you so much. Your generosity is amazing. It's so amazing and unique. I appreciate that so much. That really means a lot to me." And yeah, Brown says probably not the best to send a pitch out on a Friday afternoon, but I'm so pumped. Yes, I appreciate. It's funny when I started this live stream. All about brand partnerships. I was like, are people really going to tune in and like listen to me talk about like sponsorships every week? And sure enough, they do. Brian says, I sent 2 earlier this afternoon. Yes. Love to see it, Marcus. Hannity says, yes, let's get it. Moccasin Mama said, I've been pitching throughout. Well, anyways, y'all, thank you so much for again for tuning in for another live stream. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. It's supposed to rain in our area, so hopefully it's a little sunnier where you are at. And once again, I just thank each and every one of you for tuning in every week. It really does mean a lot to me, and I'll see you next time.